Hey everybody, welcome back to this episode of Design IT Solutions Podcast. I'm Daniel Schwartz, and today we're going to be talking about Wi-Fi and public networks. Kind of how that free Wi-Fi could have an expensive mistake for you. And what hackers kind of use that for, and how they can own you in a coffee shop or in a public setting where you jump on that free Wi-Fi. So if I walked into a coffee shop right now with a very simple device, $100 or less, I could probably get someone's email and password in under 10 minutes. In fact, I just finished doing a live example of hacking public Wi-Fi where we emulated Starbucks Wi-Fi in a mall. That video is coming shortly. You can watch that on YouTube, but we did a real example of it. So today I'm going to talk about what that means and really, how to avoid it. So today I'm going to walk you through exactly how that works and why public Wi-Fi is still one of the easiest ways for attackers to get credentials and then compromise networks. So let's walk through this scenario of the coffee shop, right? So let's say you go into Starbucks or your local coffee shop and you sit down and you join the Wi-Fi, okay? And it says Starbucks guest, Wi-Fi guest, Wi-Fi network, Starbucks network, Starbucks Wi-Fi. There's all kinds of names. Which one do I join? How do I know? Well, first, you want to ask somebody, right? Just ask, hey, what's the Wi-Fi here? And the password. So just because they have the password listed doesn't mean that it can't be spoofed. We'll get to that, though. So which one's real? Well, you don't know until you ask somebody. So treat them all suspicious. People don't necessarily care what they're connecting to. They trust a name, not a network. They don't really know. Is it the Starbucks one? Whatever. Let's just join it. Great. It connected. I can get on the internet. Woohoo! So what's actually happening behind the scenes? Well, attackers can use rogue access points, like I show in that video. And what they can do is they can emulate anybody's network. So I can make it look like you're connecting to Starbucks. I can make it look like you're connecting to your hotel's Wi-Fi, even the internet on an airplane. I can emulate all of those. I can actually listen for your computer to request a network and say, hey, is this network here? And I can immediately broadcast that network, let it connect to that device, and then you think you're connected. So I can mimic legitimate networks. I can create dummy networks that look right. Starbucks might say Starbucks Wi-Fi, and right next to it, I create one that says Starbucks guest. So which one is real, right? So I can mimic a real one, or I can create my own individual, made-up, fake one. Either way, it doesn't matter. So I can be an evil twin or something fake. The victim connects to one, great, no big deal. And then traffic starts flowing and I can do whatever I want with that data, right? So you didn't get hacked, you volunteered your data. You joined the network, right? So nobody did anything to your device, nobody broke any encryption, nobody exploited any 0 days in your network or your device. You connected to the network. So now you're giving that data to the network. So one of the first and easiest ways to get your data is to use what we call a captive portal. Now you've seen this before, especially if you've stayed at a hotel or whatever. You join the Wi-Fi and your computer automatically detects a little page that pops up and it says, hey, thanks for using our Wi-Fi. This is our, you agree to these terms. It's going to be for generic use, you're not going to do anything nefarious, blah, 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 right? And sometimes I'll put you, an email address in or a room number, whatever, to confirm, and then you click I agree, and you're off to the internet. Well, we can create a version of those portals where it says, hey, use our free internet and just log into one of your accounts to authenticate. And it lists like Yahoo, Gmail, Outlook, Apple ID, whatever. Sure, throw your email in there and your password. Hit submit. Great. Now we just captured that information, right? It didn't actually go to that place. There was no login. It says success. Now you can use the internet. And you just gave that information away. So now they have login credentials. Now what they could do, a very sophisticated page, let's say you're like, well, I have multi-factor authentication, so they'd have to have my phone too to get into my email. Great. They'll actually take that information and right then and there pass it on to Microsoft through their portal, and then you get that MFA and you approve it. Now they have a token that they can replay later and bypass MFA and get in, or they actually have AI doing it right then and there, and they go in and create access rules for themselves to get into your email, change your password, etc. So, a lot of stuff can happen just like that. But then the other thing they can do is just redirect you to a, hey, this didn't work page, and you try again. Now, in my example at the mall, somebody tried multiple email addresses to log in. So they gave me multiple accounts, right? Now, obviously, I just deleted them all. It was during our demo, so we blurred it out in the video, and that data's gone. So the problem is, though, is you'll sit there and think, wow, why didn't that work? And you'll try different passwords. You'll try whatever. So now they're just collecting all that data in that capture page, and they'll use it for whatever. So we want to be careful, right? So then that's one thing, right? Understanding how those pages work, what they could be doing. And then as a side note, when you get a phishing email and you click on a link and it looks like the legitimate site, that's the same thing, right? It's an escrow page where they're capturing that data but then passing it through to the real site to get your MFA token as well. And then I get people who say, well, what about I use a VPN? Well, great, because one of the things is when you connect to public Wi-Fi, I can capture all of your packets, all of your data going to the internet, and I show that in the video as well. And I can see unencrypted data. So when you enter certain sites, you enter certain information in forms, I can capture all that. I can capture your encrypted data too, but it can take a while to try to decrypt that, and not usually worth it for hackers. So people are like, well, I can connect to a VPN. That's great. You can connect to a VPN. However, that initial portal that you put your credentials in is still captured all that. It doesn't stop credential harvesting. So let's say you connect to the VPN. Now your data is encrypted over that public network. But the sites you go to could still be a malicious site, right? They could redirect you to a site that you connect to over the VPN and still put in your credentials and still get that. So it also doesn't fix the kind of the user behavior unless you understand what you're connecting to. Yes, your data is encrypted between your device and the server, but if we connect you to a server that is nefarious, you're still going to give away that information. So VPNs help over public networks, depending on where you're going. Legitimate sites, they help with. Illegitimate sites, that it doesn't matter if you connect over a VPN or not. So that's one thing, to keep in mind. So what are hackers, what are they trying to get? Well, ultimately they're trying to get some kind of an account credential, email and password combos, something they can use to then further their exploit. As soon as they can get into your email, then they can do email campaigns, trying to get other people to click on malicious links. They think it's from a legitimate source. They can try those credentials at work. Figure out where you work, on your social media, etc. See how many things they can get into, which is another reason we talk about using different passwords on every site, so that if one of them happens to get compromised, not all of your life is compromised. So lateral movement, if they can get access, and then in those captive portals, if they can bypass or get you to enter your MFA token, then they can create what's called a session token. And that's usually good for up to a month, depending on the site. And that's so you don't have to log in every time you go, right? So if you go to Office 365 and you have to log in every day, great. But some people are like, can I not have to log in every day? We really would prefer you do, but the way you don't is the server gives you a session token, and it's like a little key that's stored in the browser. And then that gets sent to the server, and it bypasses all your login, including MFA. So they can capture that, and then they can just use that till it expires. So helping, not allow that to happen is key by not using public Wi-Fi, essentially. So what does actually work, right? Not just be careful. What can you actually do to protect yourself? Well, one thing is turn off auto connect on your devices. I know it's easy because you're at home or at work and you open your device and it automatically connects. Well, that auto connect actually broadcasts out a request to see if the network's available. And so if we're sitting there with the device like this guy, it will capture that request, immediately generate that network, and let you connect to it, give it your credentials, and then let you join. So turning off auto connect doesn't tell them, and this could be at a corporate office, they could be sitting there with this device, right? So this doesn't tell them what network to emulate. So it makes it harder. Now, especially if it's a hidden network, they don't know, what it would be. Then verify networks, right? So if you're sitting in a coffee shop or you're sitting somewhere that you're going to use a public, go ask a staff member, what is the actual network called? Which one of these on my phone is the one I should connect to? They should know. Then for anything sensitive, right? You got to go to a banking site. You need to log into, a work site that has, obviously proprietary information. Use a hotspot on your cell phone because then, you know it's yours. It's secure, and then it's just you using it anyway. Nobody can, listen in to your interaction. And then from a corporate side, we can enforce conditional access and device trust. This is where we put tokens on the device that authenticate as well as the user, and it allows us to make sure that that device should be connected to the network. And then helping your users understand what these fake portals look like that I was talking about, helping them understand what makes sense. In reality, when you go to one of these sites, right, they shouldn't be asking for a username and a password from you on a portal. That's a red flag. They shouldn't be asking you to log into something unless it's something where you have a subscription, like on an airline where you're using their internet. Something where they have a subscription you have to log into, then that makes sense. But in general, most free and public Wi-Fi, there's nothing you should have to enter credentials to log in for. They might ask for an email address. They might ask for a room number. That's normal in some cases. Again, just ask what's legitimate. So, the scariest part about public Wi-Fi isn't how advanced it is. It's how simple it is, right? It's something you just think I should connect to, and how often it actually works. I mean, in the demo that I did on that video, we were setting up, and before I could actually show a compromise on our own device, someone had connected and already given their credentials. That's how quickly and easily this works. And before we were done, multiple people had connected and provided credentials. And we weren't there that long. So it's so easy to do, and it happens all the time. So if you're going to use public and free Wi-Fi, keep yourself safe. Try to find out what it is, and don't do anything sensitive. Don't provide any credentials over that connection. Also, just keep in mind, sometimes your devices will auto-connect to multiple sources if you have email open or other things. So you could be sending data you don't even realize just by the apps that are installed on those devices. So know what you're connecting to and be careful. Use some thought in the process of, do I need to click on a portal? Should I be submitting this data? Is this a legitimate site? So stay safe out there. Check out our website and our media channels for great content and that video on how we did this live. And have a great rest of your day.